Mr. Hoppy turned and ran from the balcony into the living room, jumping on tiptoe like a ballet dancer. Between the sea of tortoise that covered the floor, he flung open his front door and flew down the stairs 2 at a time with the long songs of 1,000 Cupid ringing in his ear. "This is it," he whispered to himself under his breath. "The greatest moment of my life is coming up now. I mustn't brush it. I mustn't push it. I mustn't keep very calm." When he was 3/4 way down the stair, he caught sight of Mrs. Silver already standing at the open door, waiting to welcome him with a huge smile on her face. She flung her arms around him and cried out, "You really are the most wonderful man I've ever met. You can do anything. Come at once and let me make you a cup of tea. That's the very least you deserve." Seated in a comfortable armchair in Mrs. Silver's parlor, sipping his tea, Mr. Hoppy was all of a twitter. He looked at the lovely lady sitting opposite him and smiled at her. She smiled right back at him. That smile of hers, so warm and friendly, suddenly gave him a courage he needed, and he said, "Mrs. Silver, please will you marry me?" "Why, Mr. Hoppy," she cried, "I didn't think you'd ever get around to ask me. Of course I marry you." Mr. Hoppy got rid of his teacup, and the two of them stood up and embraced warmly in the middle of the room. "It's all due to Alfie," Mrs. Silver said, slightly breathless. "Good old Alfie," Mr. Hoppy said. "We'll keep him forever." The next afternoon, Mr. Hoppy took all his other tortoises back to the pet shop and said they could have them for nothing. Then he cleaned up his living room, leaving not a leaf of cabbage nor a trace of tortoise. A few weeks later, Mrs. Silver became Mrs. Hoppy, and the two of them lived very happily ever after. P.S. I expect you are wondering what happened to little Alfie, the first of them all. Well, it was spotted a week later from one of the pet shops by a small girl called Roberta Squib, and he settled down in Roberta's garden. Every day she fed him lettuce and tomato slices and crisp celery, and in winter he hibernated in a box of dry leaves in the tool shed. It was a long time ago. Roberta has grown up and is now married and has 2 children of her own. She lives in a house, but Alfie is still with her, still the much-loved family pet. And the Roberta reckons that by now he must be about 30 years old. It has taken him all the time to grow to twice the size he was, and Mrs. Silver and him, but he made it in the end. The end.